live streaming brings us closer than ever, sharing laughs, wins, and real-time drama. But sometimes it captures heartbreak no one saw coming. In this video, we're diving into 5 shocking moments when streamers tragically died while live. These aren't just viral clips, they're real stories that stunned viewers and raised serious questions about safety in the age of always being online. It was September 14, 2020, in Aba, a Tibetan autonomous region in Sichuan Province, China, when tragedy struck during what started as an ordinary live stream. Lamu, a 30-year-old Tibetan video blogger, had become a beloved figure online. With over 780,000 followers on Douyin, China's version of TikTok, she charmed audiences by sharing slices of rural Tibetan life, cooking traditional meals, foraging in the mountains, lip-syncing to songs, and always dressed in traditional clothing, makeup-free and glowing with authenticity. Her content was simple but heartfelt, and it resonated with people across the country. But behind her bright smile was a darker story. Lamu had been trapped in an abusive marriage. In June 2020, she finally divorced her husband Tang after enduring years of mistreatment. Even after the separation, he continued to harass her, demanding she return to him. Lamu stood firm in her decision, not realizing the danger that still loomed. On the morning of September 14th, she posted her final video, singing a traditional Tibetan song. Later that day, she went live again, casually chatting with fans, but suddenly, the stream went dark. What her viewers didn't know was that Tang had entered her home, carrying a bucket of gasoline. Off camera, but still live, he doused Lamu in the liquid and set her on fire. Though the screen remained black, the horrifying sounds of chaos and Lamu's screams were broadcast to thousands of stunned viewers, powerless to help. Neighbors rushed to her aid, managing to put out the flames and call emergency services. Lamu was hospitalized with burns covering 90% of her body. For 2 agonizing weeks, she fought for her life, but on September 30th, she passed away. Her death sent shockwaves through China and beyond. Supporters raised funds for her treatment and flooded her Douyin account with messages of grief and outrage. Tang was arrested shortly after the attack and later sentenced to death. The court condemned his actions as cruel and calculated revenge over her decision to leave him. Lamu's death highlighted a much larger issue: domestic violence in China. Although the country officially criminalized domestic abuse in 2016, critics say the laws are full of loopholes, failing to cover non-married couples, same-sex relationships, or emotional abuse. In many rural areas, violence is still seen as a private matter, discouraging victims from seeking help. During her marriage, Lamu had reportedly asked authorities for protection, but her pleas were dismissed as mere family issues. That lack of support ultimately cost her life. In 2020, China introduced a 30-day cooling-off period for couples seeking divorce, meant to reduce impulsive breakups. But for abuse victims like Lamu, it can mean being trapped with their abuser for even longer. A 2013 study by the All China Women's Federation reported that 1 in 4 married women in China had experienced domestic violence. The problem is even more severe in rural areas like Aba, where traditional values run deep and women have fewer resources. Following Lamu's death, activists and fans turned her Douyin page into a digital memorial. Her videos, once a celebration of culture and daily life, became symbols of strength, sorrow, and the urgent need for change. Some local governments have since taken steps to prevent similar tragedies, including databases to track known abusers. But many argue it's not enough. Lamu's life was full of grace, resilience, and authenticity. Her death was a devastating loss, but it sparked conversations China could no longer ignore. Her story continues to inspire efforts for justice, safety, and real protection for those trapped in cycles of abuse. It was January 27, 2021, in the quiet town of Smolin, Russia. At around 6 p.m., a familiar face appeared on a controversial YouTube channel known as First Step. That face belonged to 60-year-old Yuri Dushechkin, affectionately called Grandpa by his online fans. Yuri was no stranger to the channel. He'd become a regular over time, known for his warm personality amidst the chaos of each stream. But sadly, that night would be the last time viewers saw him alive. Yuri was participating in yet another live stream, broadcast to about 150 people. The stream followed the same format the channel had become infamous for: dangerous stunts, reckless dares, and viewers donating money to push things further. But this time, things took a tragic turn. During the broadcast, Yuri was encouraged by the host and viewers to drink an alarming amount of vodka, reportedly around 1.5 liters. As the stream carried on, Yuri's condition began to deteriorate. His speech slurred, his body swayed, and soon he collapsed. Yet the camera kept rolling. What made this even more disturbing was that Yuri's motionless body remained on display, live on camera, for quite some time. Some viewers grew worried and tried to raise alarms in the chat. Others didn't take it seriously, brushing it off as part of the show. When emergency responders finally arrived at his apartment on Udorov Street, it was too late. Yuri was already gone. The channel was run by a 39-year-old man known online as JEA, and it had developed a reputation for what are called trash streams. These types of live broadcasts typically feature vulnerable people, those struggling with addiction, homelessness, or poverty, who are convinced to perform degrading, risky, or outright dangerous acts in exchange for viewer donations. The more extreme the content, the more money rolled in. And Yuri, unfortunately, had become one of the most recognizable figures in this exploitative ecosystem. He wasn't just a guest, he was part of the show's identity. Over time, the pressure to keep things entertaining meant pushing boundaries further and further. The chaos of the stream that night, blaring music, a cluttered apartment, loud voices, masked the very real danger Yuri was in. As he downed more vodka, the audience egged him on, unaware, or perhaps unwilling to admit, how serious things were becoming. Once he collapsed, there was a moment of reckoning. While some in the chat begged for help to be called, others kept sending messages and donations as if it were still a game. Paramedics eventually arrived, but the damage was done. Preliminary reports suggested Yuri had died of alcohol poisoning, but a full investigation was quickly launched to find out exactly what happened and who should be held responsible. The reaction was swift. The Russian Regional Investigative Committee opened a criminal case, accusing the stream's organizers of negligence leading to death. Locals also came forward, saying they had complained for years about the noise, drunken guests, and chaos coming from the apartment used for filming, but nothing had ever changed. Even Russian Senator Alexei Pushkov spoke out, condemning trash streams as a dangerous trend and calling for legislation to prevent such tragedies. He argued that it was time to crack down on exploitative content that profits from people's suffering. Yuri's death shocked the online community and shed light on the darker side of internet entertainment. It wasn't just a single tragic event, it was a wake-up call. Critics began calling on platforms like YouTube to take stronger action against harmful content and do more to protect vulnerable individuals from being exploited on screen. As the investigation continued, one thing became clear: the culture that allowed this to happen, where human dignity is sacrificed for views and donations, has to change before more lives are lost. It was a warm summer evening in Quozhou, China, on July 20th, 2021. Xiao Qiumei, a 23-year-old crane operator, had just wrapped up another long shift at a construction site in Jiangxi province. Known for her petite frame, striking presence, and infectious energy, Xiao stood out in a field dominated by men. But what made her truly unique wasn't just her job, it was how she shared it with the world. Xiao had gained over 100,000 followers on Douyin, China's version of TikTok, by posting videos of her life high above the city skyline. She gave her viewers an inside look at the day-to-day reality of crane operations, all from the dizzying heights of her crane cabin. Her content was uplifting, her smile always present, and her videos challenged stereotypes about gender and labor. She was more than just an influencer. She was an inspiration. That evening, Xiao decided to record one last video before heading home. Her followers were used to her cheerful tone and playful style, often set against the unique backdrop of the construction site. At around 5:40 p.m., most of the workers had already left. The site was mostly quiet, with just a few people lingering. Xiao set up her phone, smiled at the camera, and began dancing and speaking like she always did, full of life. Then, in an instant, everything changed. The video turned blurry. Metal beams rushed past the screen. A sharp, terrifying scream echoed through the phone. Xiao's scream. She had fallen from her crane, nearly 160 feet to the ground below. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but it was too late. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Initial reports suggested that Xiao had been filming at the time of the fall, leading many to speculate that she was distracted by her phone, but her family firmly denied that. They explained that she was always cautious and professional, and she kept her phone in her bag during working hours. According to them, the fall happened because she missed a step while climbing down from the crane. A tragic accident, not a careless mistake. News of her death sent shockwaves through her fan base and across social media. Her followers, who had watched her dance and smile just hours earlier, were heartbroken. Many couldn't believe it. Some even shared the final moments of her video online, igniting debates about the ethics of circulating such personal and traumatic footage. Her family, devastated by the sudden loss, held a private funeral. In keeping with local tradition, her ashes were placed under a small umbrella on a table. Simple, quiet, and deeply moving. Authorities in Jiangshan City confirmed the incident and launched an investigation into whether proper safety protocols had been followed at the site. No further details were made public, but the tragedy raised broader concerns about safety in high-risk professions and how social media influences behavior in the workplace. Xiao's rise to internet fame was built on authenticity. She didn't pretend to be someone she wasn't. Her content was real, relatable, and refreshing. She showed the world what it was like to balance tough work with the joys of everyday life, all while raising 2 young children. Her videos reminded people that crane operators weren't just part of the background, they were essential. Even though her family insisted her death wasn't connected to social media, the incident sparked comparisons to other tragedies, like the recent passing of Instagram personality Sophia Chung, who died after falling while taking a photo at a waterfall. Xiao Qiumei's story became a haunting reminder of how fragile life can be. Her vibrant spirit, so full of light and determination, was gone in a moment. As her followers mourned an online icon, her loved ones were left to grieve a daughter, a mother, and a wife. It was May 16, 2024, in Suffolk, Virginia, a day that would end in unimaginable tragedy. Raleigh Freeman III, known to his fans as rapper Rio Huncho, was only 17 years old. Full of talent, drive, and charisma, he was building a name for himself in the music world. With nearly 29,000 followers on Instagram and a growing presence on Spotify, Rio was on the path to something big. That evening, Rio went live from his home, a casual stream for his fans. It wasn't anything unusual. He often used these moments to connect with followers and share his personality outside of his music. But this time, things took a devastating turn. During the live stream, Rio picked up a handgun, something he had used before in photos and videos as part of his image. This particular gun had a green laser and a flashlight attachment. At first, he treated it casually, almost like a prop. He waved it around, appeared to turn off the safety, and then, in what seemed like a moment of overconfidence, pointed it at his own head. He made a bold statement and pulled the trigger. A loud gunshot rang out. The phone dropped. The live stream abruptly ended. Many viewers were left stunned, unsure if what they had seen was real. Some thought it was a dark joke or a fake stunt, but the truth came quickly. Rio had accidentally shot himself. Emergency responders arrived and rushed him to the hospital, but the damage was done. He was pronounced dead shortly after. Authorities later confirmed that the gunshot was accidental and self-inflicted. The news rocked the local community and sent shockwaves through his online following. Rio wasn't just a promising rapper, he was a son, a student, a friend. His mother, Monica Savage, a single parent who had poured her heart into raising her only child, was devastated. In a heartbreaking interview, she spoke through tears, describing the moment she found him and her wish that she could bring him back. In the wake of the tragedy, Rio's cousin started a GoFundMe to help cover funeral expenses. The campaign highlighted the family's pain and Monica's deep love for her son. Support flooded in from fans and strangers alike. At school, teachers and classmates mourned his loss. His teacher, Cara Dorsey, shared words of encouragement online, urging students to honor Rio's legacy by working toward their dreams. A balloon release followed, a colorful, emotional tribute to a life that ended far too soon. Rio's accidental death also reignited conversations around gun safety. Authorities began investigating how a loaded firearm ended up in his possession. Experts stressed the importance of education and secure gun storage, especially in households with teens. Simple safety steps, they noted, could save lives. Rio Huncho's music, songs like Money Getta and DOA, remains as a reminder of his talent and potential. Though his life was cut short, his story stands as a powerful lesson on the importance of caution, awareness, and protecting our youth. It was July 14, 2024, in China, when 24-year-old Pan Xiaoting prepared for what would tragically become her final mukbang livestream. Known online for her jaw-dropping binge-eating challenges, Pan had built a loyal following that eagerly tuned in to watch her consume massive quantities of food. That day, her table was packed. 22 pounds of food, from fried chicken and seafood to rich chocolate cake. Thousands were watching. Pan's rise to fame was anything but glamorous. She started off as a waitress, struggling to make ends meet. But everything changed when she discovered mukbang, a viral trend that began in South Korea, where creators livestreamed themselves eating large meals while chatting with their audience. At first, it was just a hobby, but Pan's charisma and willingness to take on outrageous food challenges quickly earned her a growing fan base. She soon quit her job to become a full-time content creator. To keep up with the competition, Pan rented a professional studio and invested heavily in her live stream setup. The effort paid off. Donations and gifts poured in, and she became one of China's most popular mukbang influencers. But behind the scenes, her success came with a dangerous price. Her challenges grew more extreme over time, some lasting up to 10 hours, featuring absurd amounts of food. Her parents were worried. They begged her to slow down, warning her that no amount of money was worth risking her health. But Pan believed she had it under control. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. She had already been hospitalized several times for internal bleeding and digestive issues. Still, she pushed on, driven by the expectations of her fans and the pressure to keep topping her last performance. On the day of her final stream, everything seemed routine. Pan smiled for the camera, chatted with viewers, and began devouring the huge meal in front of her. Fans cheered her on in the comments, but as the hours went by, her demeanor changed. Her pace slowed, her breathing became labored, and she looked visibly uncomfortable. Concerned viewers began urging her to stop, but Pan, determined to finish the challenge, kept eating. Then, mid-stream, she collapsed. Panic exploded in the live stream chat. Viewers pleaded for someone to help. Emergency services were called, but by the time they arrived, it was too late. Pan was pronounced dead at the scene. The autopsy revealed the grim details. Her stomach had ruptured from the massive intake of food, leading to internal bleeding and fatal complications. Experts later explained that eating such enormous quantities can stretch the stomach to dangerous levels, compress major blood vessels, and put severe strain on the heart. Pan's death reignited fierce debate over mukbang culture. Once meant to keep lonely viewers company during meals, the trend has increasingly become a spectacle of excess. Despite China's 2021 ban on binge-eating content under an anti-food waste law, many creators, including Pan, continued streaming these risky sessions. Her passing left fans heartbroken and shocked. Some mourned her deeply, while others questioned how content like this is still allowed. Pan's story is now a sobering reminder of the high cost creators can pay in the pursuit of online fame.